Elliott here with Yanni Gratzinopoulos, and he is a coach to leadership, ministry, and business. An amazing dude. We've talked and we've had some great conversations. Wanted to come on and give you some value and talk about the personal reasons that cause your leadership, any kind of leadership, whoever you are, even maybe if you don't consider yourself a leader, if you have to lead, sell to, mentor, support, inspire others, or just lead others, touch others in some way, this is for you, and this is what causes your leadership to get stuck. Because, as Yanni says, and several great people I've heard say, professional problems are personal problems in disguise. So welcome, my friend. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you to everybody else who's having me and listening.
Amazing. Very cool. So you and I were talking, and this is why I want to have you on. We're talking about how to identify that someone is stuck, actually that, wow, I'm stuck, or where they're stuck, and how to even be aware of it, because most people are so on that treadmill or rat race of doing and doing the same things every day, or having to fight fires and put out fires and do the usual, pardon me, that they don't even realize, holy crap, this is not working. Why am I even doing this? So let's start with that. And helping people go from good to great, which is what you help people do, and which we've been talking about, and that resonated with me. So, I guess how to identify that someone's stuck and where they're stuck. How can someone tell that they're stuck, Yanni?
So, James, really, really good question to start out with, and I think the first place is some people don't. I think we have to back up for a second and realize that some people think I'm stuck. So what?
Mm.
The key with that is everybody is a leader.
Yes.
You're either a leader or a hermit, right? If
Right.
you're around another human being, you're a leader. Are you a parent? Or do you coach a little league team? Do you have any form of leadership anywhere? Now there are probably some in your audience who could say, you know what? I live by myself. I don't hang out with a lot of people. I have my food delivered in. I'm a janitor at night. Okay, maybe you're not a leader. But for most of society, in some capacity, you lead.
Yep.
That is important.
Yep.
Because leaders can get stuck. Why do we make that designation different? Because when a human gets stuck on their own, it's very easy for them to say, you know what, I'm not going to get unstuck. I don't need to get unstuck. It's just affecting me.
Mm.
When leaders get stuck, it affects everybody that they lead. Exactly. And it affects everybody that they lead, whom they lead, right? Exactly. So if I get stuck as a leader, it's not just me who gets stuck, it's the people I lead, and it's the people that they lead. It's that ripple effect. This is important because if you can understand that you're a leader and you understand how you affect the lives of the people around you, you need to understand that you're affecting the people they affect, and the people they affect. Your leadership ripples out, whether big or small. So to identify that you're stuck, the first thing that you have to do is approach it, like you said, by realizing every once in a while, I need to take a step out of the rat race. I need to take a step out of what I'm doing, and I need to focus on, wait, where am I going? Am I stuck? Because you have people in tow.
Yeah.
You can't be selfish as a good leader. You will hurt people.
Yeah. Fair.
All right. So now we're at this.
I don't want to cut you off, but that's a great point. You'll either hurt people or even leading and correcting the whole, oh, screw it, I'll do it all myself. I think you're actually robbing the learnings. You're robbing someone from learning by teaching them how to do it. Plus, it's going to help you next time because they know how to do it over and over. But sometimes, I've caught myself in the past. Screw it, I'm just going to do it myself. I take responsibility. Although I've learned, and I'd love your thoughts on this too, and I wanted to add this to your point, taking responsibility doesn't mean doing it all yourself, and sometimes that's robbing the growth or the learning from someone else. So I want to add that, and again, continue.
No, James, which is really interesting, right? Because that has a ripple effect as well. As you lead, there's the negative side of leadership, and then the positive side. They ripple the same way. Right. Yeah. So if you rob people, if you allow yourself to get stuck, everybody else is going to get stuck with you, everybody else with them. And you might think, Yanni, come on, my leadership isn't that big. You are undercutting yourself and the people around you.
Yep.
And here's how I can prove it, especially those who work in a larger organization. everybody looks at the CEO or the VP, but how important is your direct manager or your supervisor to your specific life? Maybe not to the life of the company. Maybe they can't affect the life of the company, but I guarantee you they affect your family.
Yeah.
Because when you come home because they're riding your tail and they're in a bad mood, you come home and you're in a bad mood, you affect the people that you lead.
Right on. Yeah.
Positive or negative. You have to understand that, because sometimes we won't get outside of ourselves for selfish reasons. But once we understand how we affect other people, it will motivate us outside of ourselves. And we stop for a moment and go, okay, wait, where am I going? So that's the first question.
Yeah. Yeah. Why the hell do I want to do this? Why am I doing this?
Yes. Where? Why? How are we doing? You take stock, right? So every single company from Amazon down that has any type of hard product, they do inventory. They all do it. And for a lot of people, especially kind of that mid-level, you'll say, oh, inventory. No, inventory.
I remember doing that in retail. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, it's right. Why do you do it? What's been stolen? What do I have? What do I need to sell? Every company takes stock. In fact, that's where we get the phrase "take stock." How much stock is out? Right? So
interesting.
We is it livestock? Is it sold stock? It's product. It's all product. And so, as a human, as a leader, you are outputting product. And if you have to stop for a moment and take stock and say, what's the product I'm putting out?
Yeah.
Every company does this. In fact, some of you listening are employed or employ others to do this very thing.
Yeah.
So you step back, you take stock. Why am I doing this? Where am I going? How are we doing?
Yeah.
What changes do we
get there?
Yeah. How will I know when I get there? Right? For so many people, they don't. In fact, there's a few folks that I've coached. And I said, all right, what's your problem? And they're like, I succeeded. Oh no, I'm coming right now. I'm coming for you. Well, what do you mean you succeeded? But they had a vision. They reached the vision. And I think maybe kind of were like, I didn't actually think I'd get here.
Yeah. And now what? Now there's no purpose, right? Because they don't,
That's exactly right. But why did they get there? Because they stepped back and they were like, oh, they took stock.
Yeah.
They did inventory. Why did they do it? Because they have employees. And and hear me, Blockbuster did not, that old American company did not take stock, and Netflix came along. Some of you watching this podcast, you're like, what's a Blockbuster? That's exactly my point.
Exactly. One of the biggest, not one of the biggest, but a multi-billion-dollar company that is like Kodak. Kodak, I don't know if I think they're a teeny piece. I think they're still around, but same thing. I call it, she's a brashness, everyone, but I call it head in your ass syndrome. And it's so true. It's so just like you said, Blockbuster said, oh, that's we don't want that, or that'll cannibalize the business, or that's totally whatever. That's not the way we do it. Well, maybe that's the way of the future. Or Kodak. Kodak invented the digital camera. No people know that. They invented it in like the 70s or 80s. And like, oh no, this is going to cannibalize our film industry. So we're not going to use that. And sure enough, now digital cameras are of course everywhere. They're on their phones and everything. And it's pretty much killed their business and they're barely hanging on. Yet they invented it. And they're like, oh, well, no, we're going to, right? So you raise a good point.
No, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's the segue. What do you do when you realize? So they took stock, right? They took stock. Their R&D built the digital camera. The guy who built it was so excited. He's like, this is going to revolutionize the world. And listen to what they said. This will cannibalize our business. They took stock and didn't listen to their own words around the problem. When you hear yourself say, ooh, this is going to do something negative, and you're the people with the patent, it's your idea. Let it cannibalize your old business. Let your new business cannibalize your old business and win the day.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't believe me? Look at Best Buy. Best Buy was on the ropes 10 to 15 years ago. And if you read the study, Dell Computers, same thing. Both of them sat back and they're like, hey, we're so we'll go Best Buy first. We're brick and mortar. Here is, and we'll get to how this affects personally. We're brick and mortar. The web is killing us. Amazon's killing us. So without getting rid of their brick and mortar, they focused on a massive web presence. Look at Dell. Dell was selling computers. Michael Dell, brilliant man. He saw where this was coming. Most people don't know this, but Dell is the company. Dell owns most of the VMware in the world, all the virtual computing. Why? Because he saw it coming a mile away, and he let the new business cannibalize the old business. Now you know what he does? He runs the VMware on his servers.
Wow.
So how does this affect? And this is where the personal reasons cause leadership to get stuck. This is where professional problems are caused by personal problems. Because the leaders who listen and identify the problems, they do it in their personal life and they do it in their professional life. Right? So if you're somebody who, I'm going to ignore that in my personal life and I'm going to go to work and on my business and lead in my professional life, I'm telling you, if there's a train wreck in one, it's a precursor to the train wreck in the other.
The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Humans are not that complex. Whether it's Justin Sterling you follow, T. Harv here, Millionaire Mind. Again, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So yes,
everything.
Agree. It affects you one way, affects you in one area. And if you don't see it, I encourage you to look at it, because to your point, it'll be there. If something's not working in your relationships or at work or in health, I can guarantee you it'll permeate, and the way you do one thing will be the way, even if it's a little disguised or harder to see, because maybe health is not blowing up as much, or maybe it's health and maybe business or work is not blowing up, or maybe your relations are not yet blowing up. The amount of people I've talked to that said, oh my relationship's great, and then 6 months later the divorce, I can't even count. Anyways, I'll digress. Awful. But you know,
but you know what? No, for the audience, you're gonna think that we scripted this out, and I promise you, this is just great flow. James, that's a perfect primer, because the next question is, okay, I've taken stock, I've identified I'm stuck. What do I do? The very first thing that you do, and James, it's exactly what you highlighted, is you look for the places where you've gotten unstuck in your life in other areas. Right? So let's say I'm stuck professionally. Go to business. Are you stuck business-wise? No, we're flowing. What did you do? Well, I hired a host of coaches and consultants to get us through the tough time. Then go back to your personal life and do what worked in your business life, because you are you in both. The flip works professionally, right? Are you chugging along in your personal life, but it's not happening professionally? The business isn't maintaining? Well, yeah, that's my struggle. All right, what'd you do in your personal life? Well, I got some coaches and counselors. Do that in your professional life. Well, I surrounded myself with friends and a spouse and people who handled the parts of me and helped me with the parts of me that were weaker. Well, what are you doing at business? I'm hiding all that crap and I'm trying to put on a fake face. Then stop it.
Trying to be strong, trying to exact the facade. I want people to like me, impress people. Well, do something.
Stop. Yeah. So as a coach, my job is not to fix you. My job is to dive in and help us understand what's broken. And then I'm going to ask you, has this ever been broken in another part in your life? Oh, well, yeah, I guess it has. Well, what did you do? Well, I did this. Then let's do this over here. And then to help you be accountable to taking those steps in the right direction, because here's what happens. Humans operate just like outer space, right? We know that
dark and cold.
yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Now all of a sudden we're talking about serial killers, and I don't know how. I am not sure where that went. Or they suck the life out of me.
I love our dynamic, by the way. This is amazing.
Yeah. Well, in space, we know that whatever is in motion will stay in motion. We also know that something not in motion, unless pulled, will not move.
True.
So just because you know you're stuck, and just because you know the road out, doesn't mean you're going to move. I cannot. And why does this matter? for exactly what you just said, James. How many people go, oh, everything's great. 6 months they're divorced.
Like, or fired or laid off or whatever, exactly, or heart attack or something. My health is fine. And 6 months later, yeah.
You know why? Are they really that obtuse? Were they really lying to themselves? Some people, the answer is yes, because they weren't stopping long enough to take stock. Some
Sure.
people, right? Some people, they knew they were stuck and just couldn't admit it to themselves. But I think for a lot of people, and probably a lot of you watching, along the journey, and this is kind of how I talk about it. Some people say, so you're here to help me get unstuck. Maybe. How did you get stuck? And that's the other piece of this, right? Because let's go to we're going to go to a place that's a little sensitive here for a moment.
All good. I love it. I love being real, and it's like, let's just be real.
Let's do it, right?
Because that's where all the solutions are. Versus we could tiptoe around and dance around pretending everything is fine, but that's not where the solutions are. Let's get raw and real. So please, go ahead.
All right.
I give you full reign, full roam.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, he does not know what he just said. No, I'm just kidding. We're going back to serial killers. No. So if imagine that you're in a vehicle, and you're driving this vehicle and you're heading down the road, and you pull off to the side of the road and you realized, oh, I just drove into mud. Okay. You know what? I have the capability to handle mud. I got to throw it into 4-wheel drive. I got to do some things back and forth, and I have the ability to get unstuck. Okay. That's very different than someone ran a red light, slammed into your vehicle, and now you're off on the side of the road. Why is that different? Because one is a victim and one is a decision. This is a very big differentiator. If you're stuck, not because of a choice that you made, but you were a true victim, then it's different than if it's the choice that you made. Some of you claim victimhood when you shouldn't. It's keeping you stuck. Some of you are taking responsibility for something that you shouldn't. It's keeping you stuck. Are we still talking about business? We're talking about you. Yeah. You in business, you in personal. It's the same. Now, I approach it from a business standpoint, right? And I work with business clients. But if you get stuck because somebody else got you there, that's a different ballgame. Why? Because the tow truck comes along and gets you unstuck, you still can't drive it. You've got to, that tow truck has to load you on, take you down to the mechanic, and your vehicle has to be repaired. And so I encounter some clients where I come along and I'm like, oh, hey, you're stuck because this car ain't moving. So let's get a tow truck. Maybe it's a counselor. Maybe it's a therapist.
It's getting help. It's seeking help. And so many of us, and I was there too, as a big, entrepreneur years ago, I was there, I got to do it all myself, or if I don't, that means this, or that means that, or I don't need, or I can't afford it, or I can do it all myself. I don't need anyone. Oh my God. And of course, now getting help, making, thousands of times more money and helping more people and more success because I have lots of mentors and helpers and all kinds of people I work with now. And I think that really is what makes people successful, having, mentors, advisors, friends, coaches, therapists, you name it. And it's, I think being too egotistical, they go, I don't need that, or that's not me, or I'm too this, or whatever, making that mean, that means I'm whatever, not good enough, or I'm dumb, or I'm broken. No, it doesn't mean anything. It means we all need help sometimes. And I think to your point, the tow truck is the help. If you want to stay stuck in the snow or the mud for the rest of your life, or stay there metaphorically and physically, stay where you are for this, then okay, but you probably don't want to. You probably want to get unstuck, right?
You're exactly right. And let me bring all of this home, because I know we're coming up on time here.
Yep.
Is if you're stuck, you can't just I'm stuck, but identify why you're stuck, identify how you got stuck, because that's going to help you with the appropriate person. As a coach, I'm not a tow truck. As a coach, I'm not a tow truck. What does that mean? If you got stuck and the vehicle can't move, you need a tow truck and a mechanic, right? You need some mentors to help bring you along to a therapist who's going to bring you through some of that, whether it's business or personal. If you're stuck because you made some decisions, but the vehicle's still working, we need a tow truck to get you out. And then here's the thing. Why did you get stuck? Because you're driving in the dark and you're lost. Now you need a coach. That's a GPS.
Right on.
I help people who are stuck not because the vehicle won't move, it's because they're not exact. The fog is thick. The road is dark. They've lost the map. And so I help them walk through this. This is important because whoever you get help from, there should always be an end date.
Fair, and help you move. Oh, again, I mean, and this is why you and I resonate so well together. And let's do a part two because we've been a minute left. Let's do a part two because this is an amazing topic and this is a really great topic. But it's interesting, talking about how the tow truck, the mentor, using a coach like yourself, using NLP trainer, people using NLP to change that mindset, to open themselves up, be more confident, be more vulnerable, more persuasive, more influential, and get unstuck and get past the self-sabotage or the fear of looking bad or being judged or whatever it is. Or the I can't because blank, which is a great way to keep yourself stuck all your life. It's such a great, and we'll talk more about this next time too, about some specific tools and strategies. Let's do part two because we're on time. Let's do part two. What's your last sum up point for today? And then everyone come back for part two. Maybe we'll do it next week or early January. We'll do part two. How would you sum this up for now? And then everyone come back for part two because this is awesome.
Seek truth, and when you find it, don't ignore it. And once you have found it, find the people. I'm not an NLP, right? So you might need both of us. You might need, you're probably going to need one of us at this one time and one of us at another time.
Yeah, exactly.
Seek truth, do something with it when you find it. I was just telling James he's a man of action, and you would do well to do the same.
Exactly. I love being in action. So let's take action. Let's get people moving. And it's almost a new year. Who do you want to be? What do you want to achieve in the new year? So, May, this was awesome. Thanks, brother. Let's do a part two. This is amazing. Everyone, check out part two. It'll be probably within the next few weeks. We'll have a part two because this is just too valuable. And I want to give a bunch of tools and want to get some more of your thoughts on things. But thank you very much for your time today, Yanni. It's been awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, brother.